you're ready. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, mic check.
I got 2 sets of herpes. Well, yeah, I got laid off from my wireless service job. And they basically didn't answer a lot of it. And just had to.
reset this whole group, so just know, like, we got a second. I got them walking in. This right side.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I know, but I want to investigate that.
That's right.
Hey, Tim, can I close that one down and put it on that?
No,
Okay,
do me a
leave
favor,
that
just
open?
throw it on the keyboard.
You got it. Okay, great, okay. Thanks.
You can squeeze,
Hey, do you want to dance for this?
No problem.
That'd be good.
I'm right down here.
yeah, you're gonna got it.
You guys just go a little bit more down.
Okay, thanks everybody for being here. Tony, are we good with our stream? I just want to make sure we're good before we get going. Is that mic all set? Awesome. Okay, good to go, Colonel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here to cover this very important topic. My name is Colonel Jeffrey Noble, and I serve as the Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police. Today, we are here to share the results of Operation Firewall, a coordinated initiative to address the growing problem of child pornography, child enticement, and other illegal activities. In a few moments, you'll hear from Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Tucker about the enormous effort and detail that went into this operation. Over the past several months, members of the State Police Division of Investigative Services used their training and skill to develop these cases and build a comprehensive operational plan. I want to take a moment and thank our law enforcement partners, too many to list by agency, numerous county, local, and federal agencies, and I also want to thank the support of the Healy Driscoll administration. Without the work and their work to secure dozens of complex warrants and coordinate the movements of several multifunctional law enforcement teams, this operation would not have been possible. You'll also hear from several of our district attorneys who will share their perspective about the impact of these cases in their jurisdictions. Whether you're a trooper, an officer, a prosecutor, seeing these cases through to the end requires tremendous resolve. They require you to set aside your personal feelings about these disturbing behaviors and follow the facts and evidence. These investigations also require us to overcome the evasive tactics of the suspects who conceal their identity and their activity with encryption or decoy IP addresses and any emerging technology that enables them to go unchecked. As Colonel, I could not be more proud of our troopers and their partners. This work required the skill and technical expertise of several state police units, from the cybercrime unit to the high-risk victims unit, our tactical and fugitive enforcement teams, to every field trooper and uniform trooper that assisted in this operation. These women in med did their jobs with excellence, with precision, and with professionalism. And they delivered exactly what the public expects from us, which is strong police investigations conducted with integrity and a singular focus on protecting victims from further harm. And in this instant, our most vulnerable victims, our children. We will continue to use every resource at our disposal to combat this criminal activity. And in addition to the casework Colonel Tucker will describe shortly, residents should know how hard our troopers in the cybercrime unit and the high-risk victims unit work day after day throughout the year to get this type of work done. They epitomize the best of our profession, raising their hands to do this work in the name of the victims. Working on these cases and reviewing this explicit material comes with an enormous personal cost. As we recognize the indelible scourge of these crimes on victims and their families, I also want to publicly acknowledge the members of these units for all that they endure. Last, I want to close by raising an important reminder for parents and for caregivers. As the results of Operation Firewall illustrate the power of collaboration among law enforcement, we also recognize that we cannot do it alone. It takes a partnership. It takes a partnership with law enforcement and the parents and the caregivers. We all need to work together to mitigate this growing problem of child pornography and child enticement. Every parent in Massachusetts needs to know what's on their children's devices. They need to monitor who they're speaking to online, and they need to set clear expectations that it's never okay to create or share explicit material of yourself or another person. As a father of 3 myself, I understand how difficult those conversations can be, but they're essential. When parents, teachers, coaches, mentors, and law enforcement work together, we create the firewall that keeps our children safe. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. It is now my honor to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Tucker, Commander of our Investigative Division Services. Thank you, sir.
Colonel. Thank you, Colonel Noble. As the Colonel mentioned, my name is Dan Tucker. I am the Commander of the Division of Investigative Services here at the Massachusetts State Police. Operation Firewall was created to address the growing problem of possession, production, and sharing of child sexual abuse material, which is more commonly known as child pornography. This coordinated enforcement also targeted child enticement and other illegal activities in which children are victimized. This operation spanned 3 days last week, targeting dozens of suspects across the state, yielding significant results. The Massachusetts State Police, along with our partners, made 56 total arrests, seized 229 devices from suspects, and executed 34 residential search warrants across every part of the state. Of those 56 arrests, 25 of them were for possession of child pornography, and 19 people were charged with enticement of a child after communicating with an undercover law enforcement officer they thought was an underage child and agreeing to meet for sex. Our troopers arrested 7 suspects who had outstanding warrants for failure to register as a sex offender. The remaining 5 arrests were made for outstanding warrants for rape and assault and battery on a child. If you think you may know the type of person who commits these types of crimes, I can assure you there is no profile when it comes to child exploitation. Operation Firewall brought us to nearly 40 communities across every part of the Commonwealth. We arrested successful business people, homeowners, spouses, and parents of children. 55 of the suspects are men, and 1 is a woman. The suspects arrested range in age of 18 to 75. These suspects could be your neighbors. Our investigations found that the suspects who were arrested had an alarming amount of illegal content on their electronic devices. Some made arrangements with undercover law enforcement officers and showed up at a location with the intention of having sex with an underage child for money. This type of exploitation of innocent children must stop. One of the reasons we planned Operation Firewall was to bring awareness to the fact that internet crimes against children are on the rise. The Massachusetts Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received more than 1,000 tips in just the past week, which is indicative of the trend we've been seeing for years now. In 2020, we received 5,613 cyber tips. We are on track to receive more than 20,000 in 2025. That is an approximately 270% increase since the pandemic. I want our message to be clear. If you are seeking to possess child sexual abuse material or to sexually assault a child, the Massachusetts State Police and our partners will find you. Operation Firewall is just the beginning, and from this operation, several cases remain ongoing, and we anticipate there will be more arrests in the coming days. This operation wouldn't have been successful without the hardworking men and women of the State Police who worked tirelessly to effect these arrests. I'd like to commend the Massachusetts State Police Division of Investigative Services, the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, our Cybercrime Unit, the High-Risk Victims Unit, the State Police Detective Units assigned to the District Attorney's offices, and the Violent Fugitive Apprehension Section, the STOP team, and so many others who worked for weeks on this mission. I'd also like to thank the many local police departments who assisted us with these arrests. Finally, a special thank you to our prosecutorial partners at the District Attorney's Office and the Attorney General's Office, who supported this operation since the inception. Now I'd like to turn it over to Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early.
Thank you, Colonel Tucker. Colonel Noble, I appreciate this hard work, applaud you for your efforts. And I'd like to thank my other district attorneys and the investigators, the IT team, the staff, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the many local law enforcement agencies who came together to do this. As DAs, we can tell you, this is one of the hardest parts of our job. It's something you never get used to. It's something you never really understand. This statewide operation, this coordinated effort was second to none. It's helping out, as the Colonel Noble said, it helps our most vulnerable, the children. It helps them from people who are preying on them, exploiting them. It helps them in ways that you just can't imagine. Because in addition to this, every time one of those photos is shared, these families, these victims, they're our sons, they're our daughters, they're our nieces and nephews. It creates increased trauma for them every time that these things are put out on the internet. And one of the effects of that trauma is that many people develop substance use disorders and get involved in criminal justice themselves because of the trauma that occurs with them as a result of being a victim. We must continue to do this work, and I know all of the DA's offices have prevention programs. We get into the schools on a daily basis, and we talk to the kids about talking to a trusted adult, and it is our #1 most requested program, and that's internet safety and internet predators. We tell them to talk to responsible adults. We tell them that they're not alone in this, and most of all, if any of the families out there feel that they have a problem, call the state police, call your local DA's office, ask for the help, because we know too often this goes under the radar until there's an effort like this to bring it forth. And again, I applaud everyone involved in this effort. And it never happens alone. There's an old African proverb, go alone, go fast, go together, go further. And I thank you, Colonel. Colonel, I thank everyone involved in this joint effort. Thank you.
It is now my honor to introduce District Attorney Shagru. District Attorney Shagru. Thank you.
First, before I start, I just want to say I started prosecuting child abuse cases in 1986. Times have changed a lot over those years. In 1993, I established the first children's advocacy center in the state of Massachusetts, which has been operating now for over 32 years. So I was so pleased when the state police were willing to take this task on. We started 3 years ago doing this in Berkshire County called To Catch a Predator, and we started that and we've been very successful. So again, first off, I want to thank Massachusetts State Police for inviting me to speak today. The efforts that went into this recent operation were nothing short of tremendous. When I first began my career as a prosecutor in 1986, I was working in the child abuse unit in Hampden County in Springfield. Working in this unit profoundly impacted my life, including my perspective on the role of law enforcement and the role of how we can proactively protect our children. Over the years, the tools and technologies used to investigate and identify child predators have significantly advanced. Yet the true mission of this work remains exactly the same as when I started. Protect our most vulnerable population, our children, and to identify and to stop those who would harm them. This past week's operation reflects that mission in action. Since becoming the Berkshire District Attorney in January of 2023, our office, including the Berkshire State Police Detective Unit, the Berkshire County Law Enforcement Task Force, and the North Adams Police Department, we have been running multiple operations, such as this one this past week. These independent operations, beginning in 2023, have resulted in the arrest and prosecution of 19 perpetrators prior to last week. This kind of work is not easy. It's time-consuming, it's taxing, it's expensive, and requires an extraordinary level of care and precision. But the results, keeping our children and our communities safe, make every moment worth it. I want to recognize every single Massachusetts State Trooper and detective, along with local law enforcement, who supported MSP during this week's operation. Your dedication to the mission was evident. The Berkshire State Police Detective Unit, supported by first and foremost the North Adams Police Department, as well as the Berkshire County Law Enforcement Task Force, and uniformed members throughout Massachusetts State Police, we were able to apprehend, just last week alone, 20 suspects in this operation, including 12 child enticement arrests, 7 arrests for failure to register as sex offender, and 1 warrant arrest for outstanding a warrant for multiple rape charges. Beginning in the most western region of Massachusetts, where we often apprehend suspects from multiple states due to our close proximity to New York, Vermont, and Connecticut. These men that are arrested in this operation include men from outside not only the county, but even outside of our state. The work from this past week not only helps to keep my community, the Berkshire community, safe, but the surrounding area as well. As we move forward, the Berkshire District Attorney's Office, I surely will continue to address and build on these efforts. It's my hope that we can continue to strengthen our statewide partnership and to continue to dedicate resources to this cause. Through this work, we can create communities where children grow up free from exploitation. I want to again thank the state police. I want to thank every single member that was out there working last week for your collaboration and for the work and the hard efforts that went in place on a very safe takedown of all these particular cases. Again, thank you all, and I hope and look forward to more work in the future.
Thank you, DA. It's now my honor to introduce DA Ryan from Middlesex County.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. I join in the thanks to all of the agencies who participated in this operation. I would suggest that what happened over the past week is a perfect example of what the public has a right to expect. And that is agencies coming together from diverse communities, from chiefs of police from various size departments making their officers available, the identification of a problem, the creation of a collaborative plan, and then the execution of that plan. You heard that the plan was put into place over 3 days last week. I can assure you that those 3 days followed multiple weeks of planning, preparation, and collaboration so that it went flawlessly. That is us doing our job, carrying out the public service protection that is our mission. We will, as district attorneys, continue to move forward on these cases. We've now begun to bring individuals to accountability for their actions. But perhaps the most important part of this, and I'm grateful to all of our media partners who are here today, is really for parents thinking about, having heard this story, is the problem solved? It is certainly not. You've heard numbers, you've heard the statistics, you've heard that the people doing this can literally be everyone. So as a parent, or a caregiver, there are certain things that really need to be done. Probably the first, which is the simplest, there is not a parent or caregiver who has not at some point taught their children not to go with strangers, to beware of strangers. Where children often lose their place is they forget that people they are talking to or communicating with on devices are strangers as well. It is important to make that clear to children, particularly adolescent children who may feel they're in a place where they have a little bit more independence. They're able to conduct, as so many of us do, conduct lots of their life online. It's important to make clear that message that just because they're communicating with someone does not mean that they know them or that they are who they say they are. The second is, many times parents will tell us, and it is certainly true, media changes so fast, social media changes so quickly, that it is hard to keep up. There are lots of resources, and every district attorney's office here in Massachusetts has on their website resources that can help you to identify what those sources are. You really, as a parent, have to know what's out there. You do not have the luxury of being uninformed about what's available. Also think about the rules that you set for children around devices, where they can be used, who they can be talking to. Make part of every day having those devices in a public place. Ideally at night, their phones and other devices stay in a public place. They charge in a public place so that you really can be doing that monitoring. You know, you heard mention of what it means for children when they get caught up in these kinds of things, and the results really are devastating for kids. But what I think as parents we often shy away from, are the uncomfortable conversations. It's my hope that seeing the reporting that will happen today and in the coming days about this event will spark those conversations, because it does not frighten children, is what is usually our fear of why we want to bring this up. Giving kids clear ideas about what is acceptable and not acceptable really empowers them, helps them to feel safe, and gives them the confidence by the climate you have created to come forward to report what may have happened to them, approaches that may have been made to them, or more importantly, to a friend of theirs that may not have that same support. So I am really grateful for the coverage we're receiving with respect to this today, and I again join in the thanks for all of the collaboration that preceded it. Thank you.
We'll take some questions on topic. I'll start with Bob.
Yeah, I just want to get a sense of, after this operation, 3 days, 56 total arrests, do you have a better understanding of how extensive this problem of child abuse, child porn is in Massachusetts? If that's what you found after 3 days, how big of an issue is this?
Well, one thing that we have seen, just like you heard with the data, the number of tips that we are receiving has increased quickly and rapidly over the last several years, which means that us in law enforcement, we have to adapt at the same pace. And what this operation shows is that we're up for the challenge. And regardless of the scope, regardless of the breadth of the efforts by these individuals, we will match it, we will double down, and we will run towards it. I would just add, too, that the goal for all of us up here is prevention. Yes, we will continue to apprehend and put criminals in prison and in jail and bring charges when it's appropriate. But at the end of the day, our goal is to prevent this from happening in the first place. Thank you.
Were you surprised by how much of this was out there?
I don't think, unfortunately, any of us are surprised, candidly speaking. Thank you.
I can tell you that we've been doing this for 3 years. We've been doing this for 3 years, and every time we do it, it's just a matter of catching fish in a barrel. Well, we set up at a hotel in the Berkshires at one, and we put it out there, and we did it for 3 or 4 days in a row, and that's when we picked up 20 individuals as well coming in. So it is very prevalent. We picked up one last night, even after all the publicity of this going on. So we're going to continue to do the work. But the biggest thing we need is for the information to be out in the public so parents can be aware. We do a lot of work with prevention on internet safety, but this is very important to everybody, so that talk to your kids. These people are out there. They're on these phones. They're trying to get in there, and they're trying to lure kids to have sex with them. And it's a very, very disturbing trend. We've seen it, but I am happy that we are really addressing it. And like I said, in doing this almost 40 years now, I've seen so much different things that have come over the years. And the internet is dangerous, and the amount of devices kids have is concerning, so we have to protect our children. So I commend everybody for doing this, and I was so pleased when everybody talked about doing it, because we had been doing it, and we're going to continue to do it. But this has now become a statewide effort, and we're making big changes, and big things are happening. So thank you.
Well, one of the other things on that, just briefly, oftentimes they're very skillful at what they do. These predators do. They'll get someone to take a picture. You know, as we go into the schools, we tell them, if you wouldn't take a picture and put it on your kitchen, put it on your refrigerator in your kitchen, don't put it out on the internet, because what they then do, and we've all seen it, they'll extort these kids. You know, I'm going to release this at your school if you don't do this. If you don't come over here and meet me, I'm going to release these pictures. This is what, just one of the things that gets to you so much, is how vulnerable these kids are and how expert they are at preying upon them. And I applaud the state police for this. I applaud all our law enforcement partners, the chief from Worcester, Adams, the Middlesex chiefs, everyone doing this has the same purpose. We're all in this to serve, to help people, to make things better. And I applaud them. This isn't the first time they've done it either, but they're very low-key about it. This is a good thing, and it only gets better when they continue to do the work they do to help people, to make it better for our kids, to make it better for our families.
Do you get a sense of a lot of these arrests with these repeat offenders, and how frustrating is that for law enforcement? Knowing that they keep on making the same arrests over and over again, and what can be done to really get these criminals off the streets, protect the children?
One of the things you look at, and I get a different perspective. So I did 17 years as a defense attorney. You see this, and you wonder, is this an enticement? Is this entrapment? No. A lot of these people, they will see come up in these chat rooms time and time again. So it's not them going out per se, in trying to find people that aren't going to act on these urges. They're going out to see, and they do see these repeat offenders coming up in the chat rooms. I'm not speaking to any particular defendant, but what they do is in a way, is getting the people that continually go to these sites, continually prey on the kids and get them off the street.
The interesting thing about that, there's also lots of people where we had a vice president of a bank from Greenfield came into the Berkshires to do that, and nothing on the radar before. So we're seeing people who have quietly doing this and doing it behind our backs. So, but we do see the repeat offenders, and we are putting them in jail, and that's the key. Send the message out there. But we are seeing people that we weren't aware of that were doing it in all walks of life, from 18 to 75. So that just shows you it's out there everywhere. But again, I applaud this effort.
Will those same more arrests, will those same more arrests to come with Operation Firewall still up and running then?
I can address that and say that what this operation has shown is that the state police are dedicated to leverage our entire force. You know, this is a big agency. We have a large capacity to do these investigations, to support our local partners, and we certainly are willing to utilize every resource possible. This is a step. This is by no means the end. And as a result of this investigation, there will be many more that will continue, and these efforts are going to continue long past today.
I have a question for the Berkshire County DA.
Sure.
So, do you have any response to the recent arrest of the Cheshire police chief, and was this part of that? I didn't see his name on the list.
His name is not on the list because it wasn't, he solicited for an adult. So he did not solicit for a child. He did meet this, tried thinking he was meeting this person at a high school, a junior high school parking lot. So it didn't get to that stage, but it was still a chief of police that was looking to pay for sex and doing human trafficking. So we've addressed that. He was being arraigned this morning, so he has been suspended. But again, here we are as a chief of police in the town of Cheshire. So, you know, we're addressing it. It was not, that's why it's not listed in this, but this type of program gives me that benefit where I wouldn't have known that. And I've got a chief in my community that's doing that has told us at least 5 times in the past that he's done that in the last 5 months. So we're dealing with somebody that's dealing with trying to solicit prostitution, and that's just not acceptable to me.
What does that tell you about the extent and the scope of this problem with the chief of police?
That's the problem. I can't say it enough. And again, going on 40 years of being involved in this stuff, is that it never surprises me the type of people that you get in here. You know, you'd be surprised maybe it's teachers, and it could be that it's you know, coaches and things along those lines. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But that's why we need the public awareness, because the parents need to know and the kids need to know that these people are out there and they're going to try to target your kids, and they do it just on regular lines. And these are on places where there are people looking for sex, but they do it daily on all these type of platforms, all these type of you know, any type of social media. That's where they're hitting, and it's easy for them. And so that's why it's so important for parents to keep an eye on what your kids are doing. Keep reviewing those. Keep the parental controls on, and make sure your kids aren't talking to these people that are really, they're very adept at what they're doing. They're master manipulators, and they get these kids in there. And as DA Early said to you, they then, at that point in time, once they've got you with a photograph or something, they're then using you in order to make this crime go even further, to then continue to have a relationship and a sexual nature and abuse our kids. So it's a big problem, but again, awareness means so much.
We'll go to the last one here.
Is there anything you can divulge about the scope of these 56 arrests, type of people from professionals all the way down to possibly people who are repeat offenders? At this time, can you divulge that range?
I won't get into specifics through our comms team. We're going to release as much information on each defendant that we're prepared to release, but I will make a statement towards one lesson we have learned is that we have seen them all. Yes, we have repeat offenders. And yes, there's a reason why we have the protocols and the systems in place to deal with those repeat offenders. But we are also eyes wide open for those that we haven't encountered before. So this operation will continue. We will be wide open. We will look in every corner. We will look under every rock. And whether they're repeat offenders or they're first-time offenders, if anybody in the Commonwealth even thinks about engaging in this type of activity, rest assured they will meet a member of the Massachusetts State Police or one of our partners. Thank you very much.
One more. Maybe it's too specific, but I just want to find out if any of these people on the list were involved in parents be concerned?
As far as the specifics, like I said, as far as the employment, I'm going to go through our comms team on that, and we will release the appropriate information for the employment records. As far as our posture towards daycares and our enforcement efforts, I'll ask DA Ryan perhaps to speak to that.
And this isn't something that obviously people are always concerned about who they are leaving their children with, whether it's in a home setting or a licensed daycare operation. And there are lots of resources for parents. There are lots of ways to be checking who you're leaving your children with. And that is all something that the Commonwealth provides in keeping our children safe. But the biggest way to keep your children safe is to, if they are old enough, have those conversations. Pay attention. Talk to your pediatrician. Look at those resources. Be aware of what you should be monitoring. If you have a child who's too young to be telling you about what happens, know what signs are that you should look for. Awareness is what protects our kids. So these resources where you can run background checks or get information about people are very helpful, but you know your child best. And it's important to be watching them, watching their reactions to people, and also having very open conversations with them about what is appropriate behavior and what is not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to look this, I just want to introduce you to one of our canine, Griffin. So Griffin here, and this is Sergeant Panache. So Griffin is a canine, electronic storage detection canine. So Griffin is actually trained to find, Griffin and Sergeant Panache go on these warrants